They say variety is the spice of life, and no doubt your labor management committee provides plenty of it. From the individuals in the room to the way you interact with each other, labor management committee dynamics are always changing, and each group evolves in its own way over time.
But there are three basic benchmarks or levels of LMC development that a committee will achieve as it progresses: forming, operating, and strategic.
In this module, we'd like to show you examples of what each of these levels looks like, so you can get a better sense of where your own committee is at.
And what you might be able to do to increase your effectiveness as you grow. So let's start by taking a look at a committee operating at level 1, forming.
Hey guys, I think we should get started.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, welcome everybody. This is our first labor management committee meeting, and as you know, Phil and I have been asked to act as co-chairs of this group.
That's right. So I guess the first thing we need to do is figure out what we're going to talk about here.
Right, but before we even do that, I thought maybe we could figure out whether or not this is going to be a good meeting time for everybody.
How often is this committee going to meet?
Well, that's a good question. I think that other committees like this generally meet about once every 3 months or so. Does that work for people?
Sure. That works.
Oh, could we maybe get a schedule sent out to everyone to remind us, since the meetings are kind of far apart?
Yeah, I can take care of that.
Okay, so this committee is a chance for us to come together and talk about some of the issues going on between labor and management. So I have a few things I brought to the table today. First of all, one of my members, John Turner, didn't get paid for his vacation last month, so we need to find a way to fix that. Also, Tammy Curtis wants me to file a grievance because she got skipped on the overtime call-in list. And we have a lost set of facility keys that we're gonna have to find or get a replacement for.
Which one of these do we want to tackle first?
I guess the keys, and then we can tackle the bigger issues once we take care of that.
I heard that the reason he lost the keys in the first place was that he was walking between the sheds during a snowstorm and fell. So that's an additional safety concern. Is anybody writing this down, by the way?
Well, you know what?
Hey, has anybody even looked for the keys outside now that the snow's melted?
You know, I think the real concern is that we haven't changed the locks. There could be somebody out there with access to our facilities.
Have we made a replacement set of keys yet? How is Jerry getting in and out of places?
Hey guys, what time do we have until? Because I have to be someplace by 4.
Yeah, I have to go.
No, I thought we were meeting until 4:30.
Wait a second, is it Wednesday?
Okay. I think you get the picture. Not our proudest moment as a committee, eh?
Well, we were just starting out. What you've just seen is an LMC operating at level 1.
Here are some of the characteristics of a forming labor management committee.
Level 1s are relatively new committees. They don't have an operating agreement yet, so the group is still trying to decide on their purpose.
The committee may still be establishing a level of comfort and trust with one another, so sometimes it's hard to get people to participate.
There are no established ground rules, so you may see people talking at the same time, taking phone calls, or having sidebar conversations.
They're still deciding on meeting dates and times.
There is no formal agenda or idea of what will be talked about at the meeting until they get in the room. No preparation has been done in advance.
The roles of facilitator, timekeeper, and recorder are not yet assigned, which means there's a general lack of structure to the meetings.
And lastly, because the committee has not yet learned what issues are most effectively handled by an LMC, it's still dealing mostly with complaints and personal issues instead of working on issues of mutual concern.
So maybe you've watched this example and are smiling, remembering those days when your committee was as disorganized as we were. Or maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's us.
The important thing to know here is that every committee goes through level 1. It's a critical phase in terms of establishing what you're all about and setting the groundwork for future accomplishments.
The key is at some point to move beyond a level 1 and onto level 2, an operating committee.
As we take a look at this level, try to note some of the differences you see about the way an operating committee functions compared to one that's forming.
Okay, welcome everyone. You should have all received the agenda that Phil sent out about a week ago, so you all know what we're here to talk about today. And I know some of us on the labor side have gotten a chance to meet and prepare a little about the issues.
We met a few days ago to talk about the agenda as well.
Great. So to begin, I'd like to ask Devin to go over how we're going to allocate our time today.
Okay, we have 3 key agenda items for this meeting. First, we've got a good 30 minutes to talk about the issues we've been having with overtime and people being passed over. Then we'll take 20 minutes to discuss resolutions to the problems we didn't finish discussing last time about the posting and vacancies. And we've got 10 minutes at the end to cover the problems at the facilities we have been seeing with the lost keys.
Great, so let's get started. I think it's been benefiting us at the past few meetings to hear each side's perception of the problem before we move forward with our discussion. So let's start there. Who from the management side would like to take us through what you've discovered on OT?
I can do that. We've been following the established protocol for calling people in for overtime, but we've been hearing that there's still grievances. What we feel is not generally understood is that if we don't reach people on the first call, we can't wait for them to call back. We have to move on to the next person on the list.
So our action items on the overtime issues are that Phil is going to recirculate the call-in list by next Friday to make sure everyone who should be on the rosters is on them. And Laura is going to send out a communication on official protocol by the end of the month.
Okay, I'm glad we came to a resolution on that because we had about a minute left. So let's go ahead and move on to our next discussion, which is around vacancy announcements.
Great. I think we left off with a good sense of the problem last time and decided to spend our time today talking about solutions. So in order to get us thinking, let's do some brainstorming by way of a go-round. Each person will have the floor for 1 minute to talk about what you think we could do to improve the visibility of postings.
Nice work. I'd say this committee is doing a pretty good job.
That's right, Phil. Level 2 committees are considered operating and operating well. Here are some of the qualities of a level 2 that we just saw in action.
An operating committee has good structure. It holds regular meetings, has an operating agreement, posts ground rules, uses a roadmap agenda, and has people assigned to the 3 critical roles of facilitator, timekeeper, and recorder. For more on these best practices, check out the Running Effective Meetings module.
A Level 2 committee is successfully addressing problems as they come. It spends its meeting time focusing on issues of mutual concern.
So where's there to go from here?
I thought you'd never ask. A committee at a level 3 is exceptionally effective, not only at solving problems, but also achieving higher level strategic goals, which is why we call level 3 committees strategic.
Got it. This is the kind of committee that has gotten so good at addressing problems efficiently that they have time to proactively find solutions for improving the workplace.
Right. They operate with the full functionality of a level 2, but also address topics that haven't even surfaced yet. Strategic committees think more creatively. Everyone actively participates. Sometimes they even change the assignment of key roles to keep things fresh. They challenge everything and get to a higher level of problem solving. The reason they can do this is that they have a high level of trust and strong, intentional relationships.
Wow, I'd love for our committee to get to a level 3. What do you think that would look like?
Well, a person can dream.
Thanks for your candid thoughts and great ideas for ways we can improve how we post vacancies and get the word out to our existing employees.
Now, we have about 5 minutes to tackle the next agenda item, which is establishing a backup system for facility keys.
Yes, the reason I put this on the agenda is that we've had a few sets of lost keys over the last 6 months or so, and we found ourselves in a predicament where there is no backup. So we have janitors without the access that they need and a lack of security with the missing keys out there.
That is a great point, Phil. And actually, we've been thinking for quite a while now that it might be a good idea to switch to an ID access card system for all the doors, both the exterior and the interior.
It's costly though. There may be a little resistance on the investment.
Yeah.
Well, for this idea, why don't we chart the pros and cons to see whether it's worth pursuing further?
Great, call them out as you think of them.
Well, like we just said, I think one of the cons is a cost.
But a pro is that if somebody loses their ID, we can just inactivate access to it and just replace the ID. That way we don't have to worry about the wrong people getting access and having backup keys hanging around,
Yeah.
you know?
And those are our action items on the ID card access proposal. Thanks for volunteering to put those into a formal proposal that we can send up the chain, Jordan.
And once I receive it, I will send it out for review, and we'll look forward to a status report at our next meeting.
Our next agenda item is orientation. To recap what we discussed at our last meeting, we decided it would really benefit our employees and improve employee engagement to create an orientation training that gives new hires everything they need to know. Chris and Casey volunteered to head up a subcommittee that could do some more research on what this orientation should include and how it should be developed. So let's hear from them about how that's been going.
Well, we put together a focus group of newly hired employees, managers, and human resources folks to get a cross-section of ideas. I think it's always a good idea to get people that are new to the system to give us ideas. They often see things we don't.
Wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was total synergy here. People were volunteering, there were subcommittees, and the ideas were flying.
It's important to mention that Level 3 committees do still deal with day-to-day issues, like the backup key issue we saw here. But they also deal with more strategic issues like developing orientation training.
Well, I guess we know where we want to be.
Striving to elevate your operational level is a great goal for all labor management committees. Just keep in mind, the dynamics of your group are always changing, and when you get a new person on board, you might end up back at a level 1 for a spell and have to work your way up again. But it's always worth the climb.
After viewing this module, you may have a good idea of what level your committee is currently operating at. But of course, your opinion isn't the only one that counts here. In order to get a true sense, you'll have to hear from the whole group. The Labor Management Committee Assessment is a tool you can use with your committee to take stock and get a true sense of your performance.
And if you're not yet operating at a level 3, well, there are plenty of ways you could develop yourselves and increase your effectiveness. Just keep tuning in, and remember, it's all about structure and relationships.